everybody. There's so much that I want to share today, and that prayer sums it up really. When I think about how we're going to be, and I was listening to this organization this week, a talk that came through them called Braver Angels, and it's in the chat, braverangels.org, and their mission statement is to keep America together. And they bring people with different viewpoints. They bring people with different opinions, very passionate opinions, very different sides of the aisle, very different visions, missions, very different belief systems together to have civil discourse and to share and to lean toward the middle of understanding where the other is coming from and how the others think. And in that talk that I heard from them, I got this title from this talk today, so that's the source of it, which is 8 W's, working will work when wishy-washy wishing won't. Something like that. So it's time, as I think about today and the birthday of Martin Luther King and other leaders, whoever that leader has been for you, Mother Teresa or Jesus or Buddha or whoever you believe has been a leader that said there's a different way to be with this, that we call on that today. So as we listen today, I'm listening. I encourage you to listen, as this is the message from on high. That use me, God, use me. And then for you, show me, show us, show each and every one of us hearing this message, how I am to take who I am, exactly as I am, who I want to be, who I effort to be, who I long to be, who I desire to be, and what I can do, what I can actually factually do, and use it. And use it for a purpose greater than myself. To use it for a purpose greater than my own limited egoic wants and needs and shoulds and shouldn'ts. And I remember in doing talks on this Sunday over the years of Dr. Martin Luther King was shown one day, and it's in the history and in the videos and things, I'm sure, that somebody actually spit on him, literally spit on him. And he took his handkerchief out of his jacket pocket and wiped it off of his face and said, "This belongs to you." So how might you have reacted? How do animals react when they're frustrated, irritated, upset, put out, offended, affronted? And that very reactivity, reacting to other people's reactions, keeps us bound in the same behaviors that have been in place since the beginning of creation, a very animalistic, regressive response, reactivity. So I have a sense of the struggle, the struggling, and many of you pray every day, a prayer for protection, or the serenity prayer for many of us, to accept the things I cannot change. And right now that is terrifying for many, and even debilitating for some. So with thoughts and images and news and media about what is happening, could happen, might happen, it's very then alluring, very normal, very natural to fall under the spell of those images and of that of an imagined future, instead of, it's the highest time ever for me to go in. to actually apply. If I believe this, there's one power, one presence in the universe. Whether I can see how this is part of that or not, I'm going to lean toward that. That even though I cannot understand how or why this is happening or why it must, I know that it is. This is what is. So then how can I be with that differently? And while everything is so alluring to be mad at something, this ain't going right, that ain't going right, they're not getting that out fast enough, I couldn't get one, the system was blocked, why bother? So this serenity that we're calling for, this serenity that we pray for, this serenity that we claim we want, it's not being withheld from us. And it's closer than our hands and our feet, which doesn't mean that I won't take action, that I won't do something, and then I'll do what I can. To accept what I cannot change, then change what I can, and then work. Working will work when wishy-washy wishing won't. So it may be to go for a walk. It may be to do something intentionally to calm me down, to clear me, to get me back to a center, to get up off the sofa, out of the chair, and to say, what can I do today? I can water plants so they won't die. I can feed birds when I notice all the berries are now gone off the tree. I can reach out to somebody. I can write a note, a text, an email that is thoughtful, caring, in presence. I can tune out of Twitter and unhook from all of that ambush and avalanche of feelings that's created from reading it, whatever the social media is that jacks me up, that gets me more anxious, more tense, more mad, more frustrated, more annoyed. So I can work. I can work to see and understand, wait a minute, this is effects of somebody trying to be a hero. What's it like in me? Where am I trying to be a hero? Let me work there. Let me heal that. Let me do something there. So get a sense of it in your own life, that there's something that you could work at that empowers you, that leaves you feeling better. And it may be praying. People still ask me, Martha, do you still pray? Like, I hear you say you're living in harmony with the way things are. It's like, well, I'm not in harmony. I'm not in harmony most of the time. But I am aware when I'm not in harmony, and I am seeing what's causing me not to be in harmony. And then I'm returning to living in harmony as quick as I possibly can, for my sake and for the sake of the good of the order, for the sake of the whole, that says, if you believe in quantum theory, anything I'm doing today is affecting that. So the madder I get, the more mad I've put on it. The more offended I get, the more offense I've put on it. The more disgusted I get, the more disgust I've put on it. So it's vital, critical, essential, the way you speak, the way I speak, the words we use, the tone of the words we use, the feelings we project, the ideas that we hold, the prayers that we pray and speak. So it matters. You matter. Your contributions matter. And then it's an awakening then to see, okay, what am I contributing? What did I actually contribute today? And then minus the shame and minus the guilt, please. I mean, have you had enough shame to last you the rest of your lives? Can I have a group and a collective global amen? Enough shame to last us the rest of our lives, and enough guilt to last up the rest of our lives, to say that I can look back on my today, I can look back on my yesterday and say, okay, how can I be informed by that? How can I be informed by today to say, there's another way? There's another way. Like somebody came to my mind that I didn't reach out to, that I didn't call or text or email to uplift. So I'm going to be looking today like a researcher to see, where can I contribute? Where can I serve? Where can I be the wind beneath somebody's wings? Where can I provide an uplift for someone's emotion? Where can I uplift my own? How can I quickly interrupt these old patterns of offense and affronted and blaming and shaming and guilting and fault finding and nitpicking and whatever else is the allure of that old painful archaic way to say, okay, I'm going to do something different today. I'm going to interrupt this, whatever it takes. I'm going to interrupt this. And I'm going to do it for my sake. And I'm going to do it for the sake of my own soul's progression. And I'm going to do it for the sake of conscious evolution. And it's going to require me to circuit break some of this. It's going to require me to interrupt the old pattern. And then to think about then, and to stop using some of these terms that we've grown to use in our ministries, in our churches, like people that are suffering, people that have dying families and intensive cares do not want to hear it's all good. And neither would you if you told the truth. So it's going to be important then for us to take down some of these platitudes and some of these ways that we have of trying to feel better ourselves, and to see that it's not effective. And then to go back to some grassroots efforts here of how am I going to make a difference? And if I have 100 more years to live, or 1 more year to live, or 10 minutes to live, how would you want that to be for you? Because we're going to be on our deathbed looking back going, oh my goodness, I wish I had of. Or I'm really glad I did. And many of you have heard me say it, we'll be there with our tombstones, and on Martha Creek's headstone, it'll say, here lies Martha. Boy, she was mad. Here lies Martha. Now, that girl was angry. Here lies Martha. She had issues. Here lies Martha. She had dramas. Here's had Martha. She took resentments to her grave. Here lies Martha. She preached unforgiveness and didn't offer any of it. Whoa, like, okay, if we're writing our headstone today, then it can say something different. Here lies Martha. Instead of issues, she had ideas. Here lies Martha. Instead of complaints, she had contributions. If we simply stop complaining, whoa, what would we talk about if we stopped complaining? Where would our energy go today? So instead lies Martha, who she dropped some of those dramas and she took those dreams and put them into action. So whatever you want your tombstone to say, we're writing it today. So whatever that is for you, to think about today in this working will work, if we had more passion for what we're about, passion for a mission on earth, passion, and then directing that passion. And it can be small things that make a big difference. Like I found some website where teachers were trying to get their little classroom projects funded. And for $200, I cleared the board of 11 or 12 teachers. So their wishes and their projects all got settled just like that. One little, in 2 or 3 keystrokes, a passion, a mission that I am to serve those who are serving, to send meals to hospitals, gas cards to hospital employees, anything, to whatever. And then, so whatever your passion is, to fuel that passion, to be in integrity with yourself, to say, I can't have that passion, I can't have that fire in my belly and not do something about it, to move forward and to move toward that, whatever that is for you. So it's not, yours is not Martha Creek's. Mine is mine. Yours is yours. So what would it be like to get in deep connection and deep integrity to your own passions and your own ideas for how you want to uplift humanity, uplift the consciousness of humanity, especially during these times. And then the second thing I wrote down was, so that's like ignite our passion, spark our passion, and then exude it. I got to hear many speakers over the years and many teachers, and Matthew Fox, I got to be with him and study some and work. And he used to say, you know what people need, particularly you spiritual types who are so uptight, and Mama used to say, you're so uptight, if you could screw you in the ground, you're so uptight. And he said, what was missing is some frolic. Exude some passion, whatever it is. And this much passion right now, this much fire in your belly right now could ignite a passion and a fire for others that really makes a difference. The second thing I wrote down is cut the weird. Some of us are proud about how weird we are. So what it means to me is to cut out some of this weirdness that people can't relate to. Like we want them to come in to know God deeper, to have to a deeper realization of God, to come into whatever principles they're working with. If it's unity principles, like there's one power and one presence, I am that I am, and prayer and meditation connect me to that. And the last part of that principle is I must apply it. So just to theoretically speak that is weird. So nobody's listening much to what we're saying. They're watching how we're being. They're watching what we're doing. And only through that will there be an attraction to say, oh, well, I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that passion. I want to be a part of that miracle making. I want to be a part of uplifting somebody's life. I want to be a part of creating a life that I can look back at the end of mine and say, I'm proud of that. I worked at that. So whatever the weird is, and it's weird to say it's all good. It's another thing to say it's all good. And it's another thing entirely to embody it. So, Gandhi used to say, there's a story about some mother bringing their child to Gandhi and saying, tell this kid not to eat sugar. And she had walked miles and miles barefooted in the desert to get there. And he said, well, I can't tell the child not to eat sugar. Come back in 2 weeks. And she said, do you realize how far I've walked? Do you realize how much it took me to get here? Can't you just tell him? And he said, no, I cannot tell him. Bring him back in 2 weeks. I'll tell him. He came back in 2 weeks. She came back in 2 weeks with this little kid and said, Gandhi, tell him not to eat sugar. And Gandhi said, don't eat sugar. She said, well, why in the world wouldn't you just tell him that 2 weeks ago when I was here? And he said, because I was still eating sugar. So it would be out of integrity for me to tell folks to stop doing what I'm doing. So it's out of integrity for me to tell people not to be mad and outraged and enraged when I'm outraged at their outrage. And when I'm enraged at their rage and mad about them being mad. So whatever seems weird to you, cut it out. And expand your vision. Our leaders, we're all leaders. So how are we leading? And you are the hope of the world. Charles Fillmore used to say it as, you may be the only church anybody ever attends. So what is your message? And then through doing this, we're encouraging people to fall in love with mission, whatever that mission is. Mine is to serve those who serve. So then what I do is informed by that. So whatever your mission is, whatever you want your tombstone to say, it could be music, art. It could be the way you are with your children, your grandchildren, the way you are with your pets. Like, what is your mission? How is it you'd want to be noticed? How will you notice that? And then the hardest one for this week, here it comes. Smile more. Smile on purpose. It sounds so trivial, but if you start to look around, you will see the world has lost its smile. So those of us who can give the world its smile back. If the gospel, creation, God, source, whatever you call it, is true, there is something to smile about. Whether we can see it or not, there is something to smile about. And I have to remind myself, even in communication, particularly when there's tension and anxiety and worry, to practice smiling. Smile more. And have you noticed it's not a natural facial expression? We're patterned. We're patterned for the downturn. So it's going to mean growing some new muscles here for some of us. The sixth one is to stop fighting. Stop fighting. Whoever you're fighting with, put the rope down. They'll think you're on a new medication or that you've started meditating again. For your sake, for the sake of the collective, for the sake of consciousness, stop fighting. And invite someone to something that you like. Invite them to join a ministry service. Invite them to your coffee chats. Invite them to a book study. Invite them to card writing. Invite them to board games. Invite somebody that's excluded, that's isolated, that's feeling alone, that's desperate, despair, depressed. Invite. And dial up your invitation. You can say, oh my God, well, I invited so-and-so to church 10 years ago. It's like, And there's been several 100,000 days since then. And then to become friendlier. To become friendlier with people who aren't necessarily like you. Who don't think like you, who don't look like you, who don't behave like you, do not believe like you. You don't have to hang out with them. I don't either. And to get at least friendlier toward them. So working will work when wishy-washy wishing won't. What will you work with today? What will you work at today?